Hello, dear friends. I am surprised to hear from wise Inuit elders. Scientists use the latest computer models to predict the weather. These are two practices that serve to the same purpose, and they come from very different worlds. Opinion piece. The earth has changed. Inuit elders won. They say sun is higher than before. They have more daylight for hunting. They say their sky has changed. They say the earth has tilted. Inuit have a rich mythology. Let's start. Inuit elders are warning the world that the earth has changed. They claim in their mythology that the earth has moved or wobbled and that it has changed its sky. The Inuit are local inhabitants living in the Arctic regions of Canada, US and Greenland. They are excellent weather forecasters, just like their ancestors. The elders state that the sun rises in a different position now, not where it used to. They also have more daylight to hunt now. The sun is much higher than it used to be, and it warms up much faster. Other elders from the north also confirmed the same about the change in the sky when interviewed. They also claimed that it has changed the position of the sun, moon and stars, causing changes in temperature. This has also affected the wind, and it is very difficult to predict the weather now, and according to them, it would be necessary to predict the weather in the Arctic. All the elders confirmed that the earth has moved, wobbled or tilted to the north. This information provided by the Inuit elders has caused great concern among scientists. The elders say that they are no longer able to provide accurate predictions as they did in the past. They note that warm winds are changing the snow areas, making it more difficult to navigate and move through the terrain. The polar bear population is also on the rise, which means that bears often wander into Inuit villages. Using skills passed down from generation to generation, Inuit forecasters living in the Canadian Arctic look to the sky to tell by the way the wind scatters a cloud if there is a storm on the horizon or if it is safe to go hunting. Thousands of miles away, in a laboratory located in the Colorado Rockies, scientists take data, measurements, and use the latest computer models to predict the weather. These are two practices that serve the same purpose and come from very different worlds. Weather is of particular importance in Arctic environments, where a reliable forecast can mean the difference between life and death. There are members of the Inuit community who possess the ability to predict the weather, but that knowledge is disappearing due to cultural change. The Inuit. The Inuit is a common name for the various people who inhabit the Arctic regions of North America. The word means people and the singular is Inuk, which means human being. The Inuit have their origins in Siberia, Northeast Asia. Their Eskimo Aleut ancestors crossed the Bering Strait and settled in North America. Around the year 1000, the Thule culture arose in Alaska, the origin of the Inuit people, which spread rapidly eastward along the Arctic region. The Inuit reached Greenland around 1300 and Labrador around 1500, replacing the Dorset culture in all the territory it occupied north the Arctic tree line, with the exception of Coates Island and some neighboring islands in Hudson Bay, which were inhabited by the Saddler Mute until 1903. Inuit is the generic name for the human groups that inhabit the Arctic. The Inuit have endured Arctic life for thousands of years and are highly experienced in surviving on the ice. They live in the tundras of northern Canada, Alaska, and Greenland. An estimated 150,000 people live in this region. The area where the Inuit live is almost always frozen under a thick layer of permafrost. For consecutive months, their days begin and end in darkness. The nomadic peoples build tents or caribou skin teepees in the warmer months and live in igloos in winter. Raw meat. They were formerly known as Eskimo. The word Eskimo is derived from a word in their language meaning raw meat eater, such as a steak tartare. Most of their diet consists of raw meat, as there are very few fire plants in their environment. A steak tartare or beef tartare is not Inuit but resembles it. It is a dish made from a raw minced beef. It is usually served with finely chopped onion, capers, and various ingredients. Since ancient times, it incorporates freshly ground black pepper and Worcestershire sauce, and sometimes an egg yolk is added. This recipe is attributed to the Tartars and is attributed to a practice of the Cossacks to quickly bleed the meat, which consisted of cutting fillets a couple of fingers thick and after salting them on one side, placing them under saddles. After 2 hours, the steak was cleaned, salted on the opposite side, and placed back under the saddle. After another 2 hours, it was finally cleaned, and the meat could be eaten, marinated, and free of blood. Anecdotally, the raw variant of kebab, a mixture of minced meat, various spices and seasonings and valor, called kibe naye, is a specialty with a long tradition in Lebanon and Syria. Without being strictly considered as a steak tartare, it is usually quite appreciated in Argentina and Uruguay, where it was brought by immigrants from the Middle East. Steak tartare has been losing its popularity due to the fact that its consumption may expose it to possible contamination by bacteria, such as Escherichia coli and Salmonella from raw eggs, and parasites such as Toxoplasma gondii and Taenia saginata. There exist unjustified beliefs that minced meat does not have so much risk to contaminations. The risk increases especially if the meat is not cooked very well, and other people believe erroneously that it is enough to spice it conveniently to reduce it, for example with citric juices like the lemon, as it happens in the Mexican version of the steak tartare. Although this supposed risk reduction is not proven, it is always recommended to prepare this dish according to the strictest possible hygiene standard. For example, washing and disinfecting hands before and after preparing the food, although this does not guarantee at all that there will be no bacterial infection. It should also be taken into account that since it is consumed raw, care should be taken to ensure that both the meat and the egg are very fresh and of the highest quality. Arctic hunting. Inuit means the people, and Inuit is the word to describe a member of their tribe. They hunt fish and marine mammals such as seals and walruses, and land mammals such as caribou and Arctic hares, and use seal skin and its blubber to make clothing and tents. They develop a nomadic life, following the migrations of the animals they hunt, among which caribou, bears, whales, and seals stand out. Of these and other animals, they take advantage of all possible paths to feed, shelter, and build houses, and tools for hunting. Seal hunting and fishing allow them to obtain food even in the harsh Arctic winter. On this occasion, the Inuit use igloos at night during hunting periods to mitigate the possible effects of the weather. If you don't know how to build an igloo, you will freeze to death. The sled dog plays an important role in Inuit life. On snow or ice, a team of dogs pull the kamutik, a sled made of wood, animal bones, baleen from a whale's mouth, and even frozen fish. The Inuit are organized in family groups, and each member is assigned a specific task. The Inuit culture in Canada is known above all for its handicrafts, especially its sculptures, mostly in soapstone, the sale of which is an important source of income for several Inuit communities. Currently, due to the strong globalization process, there is a change in the original ways of life, although they still practice some of their customs, such as seal hunting. However, the same political issues are raised with regard to the Inuit and Amerindians. The most important land claim process in Canada's history led in 1999 to the creation of Nunavut, a new territory conceived as the homeland of the majority of Canada's Inuit, hence its name meaning our land. In addition, in order to respond to the claims of the Inuit of the Nunavik region in the Quebec Arctic, the Quebec government created the Kativik Regional Administration within the framework of the James Bay and Northern Quebec Convention. In Canada, the Inuit are represented at the political level by the Inuit Tapirit Kanatami. Mythology. The Inuit peoples have a rich mythology that was transmitted orally and accounts for their traditions and the origin of the world they inhabit. The Inuit religion has animist and shamanist principles. The animals have a soul, and the hunter must celebrate a brief ceremony when he dies, so that his soul go to the non-earthly world. People, when they die, go to heaven or hell, but a part of their soul passes to a newborn relative. At the origin of the world, it is explained, were man and woman without any animals. Then the woman asked Kalia, the sky god, to populate the earth. Kaila ordered her to make a hole in the ice to fish. Then, one by one, she pulled all the animals out of the hole. The caribou was the last one. Kaila told him that the caribou was his gift, the most beautiful gift she could give him, because it would feed his people. The caribou multiplied, and the children of the humans were able to hunt them, eat their meat, wave their clothes, and make their tents. However, the humans always choose the most beautiful, the biggest caribou. One day they were left with only the wake and sick ones, so the Inuit wanted no more. The woman then complained to Kaila. He sent her back to the ice, and she caught the wolf, sent by Amarok, the wolf spirit, to eat the weak and sick animals in order to keep the caribou in good health. In other Inuit mythologies, the guardian animal of the human beings is the raven. The legend of Setna explains the origin of the marine animals and the changes in the sea by the presence of Setna, a girl kidnapped far from her father but finally sacrificed, and who lives in the sea. The mountains come from the fight from two giants, or turik, deceived by an Inuit hunter whom they wanted to eat. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.